Hi guys, welcome back to Wentworth Life, the YouTube channel that talks all things Wentworth. If you're new to the channel, then hit that subscribe button right now for all future updates. And if you stick around until the end of the video, I will be responding to some of your comments from one of my previous videos. And if you want to connect with me on my social media or check out some of my other YouTube channels, then I will leave all my links underneath this video. Okay, so while we are waiting for Season 8 Part 2, I thought now would be a good time to share with you some of my predictions for every single character in Wentworth. Now, none of us know for certain how the final chapter is going to pan out, but going by what's happened at the end of Season 8 Part 1, it's safe to say we are in for some massive episodes. So I'm going to kick these predictions off and start with Sheila. Okay, so it's reported that Sheila's character is only going to be in a few episodes in this final season. And apparently, if she gets her own way, then we could be saying goodbye to a few of our favourite characters. So my guess is that maybe Sheila is going to try and kill Lou Kelly, but Lou Kelly will get the upper hand and actually kill Sheila instead. Or I do think that Sheila is going to try and work with Mari, probably very early on in the new season, and things will quickly start to get very messed up and twisted. Now maybe Sheila and Mari will both team up and use that poison that Mari has to try and get rid of Lou, but maybe Sheila will have other ideas and try to poison a few different people. Who knows? But I do think that Sheila is definitely going to be killed off in the new season, and I reckon Lou Kelly will be the one responsible. Even if Sheila is only in a few episodes, I think she will definitely leave her mark on Wentworth. Let's quickly move on to Mari now. So Mari has been a very complex character from the start, and this is going to be her 4th year in Wentworth. So I do believe that Mari will end up dead in this final chapter, but I cannot make up my mind if she is actually being genuine about her random epiphany or not. For some reason, I do believe that she doesn't want Ruby dead anymore. So, I mean, she even saved Ruby last year. Do you remember when Lou was attacking Ruby and she was going to kill her and Mari saved her? So, if Mari wasn't being genuine, then she would have just literally let Lou Kelly kill her, and that would have been the end of Ruby. However, that could just be a ploy because Mari isn't very popular with the women, especially after the siege. And at that time, she might have just been trying to prove to everyone that she has changed and try and gain their trust. And before you know it, as soon as everybody's guards are down, boom, Mari will kill Ruby. But on the other hand, if Mari has washed her hands about the revenge plot, then what else does she have planned? Like I just said about the Sheila thing, I definitely think that Mari is going to end up teaming up with her to try and get rid of Lou Kelly. Mari has that poison, and somebody is going to end up being the victim. Maybe when Mari finds out about Sheila, remember when Sheila was helping to drug the women in order to let that crazy doctor rape them? Maybe Mari finds out that Sheila did this to Reb, and maybe Mari will actually, in a twist, drug Sheila last minute. I've heard rumours that Mari apparently sets herself on fire in the dining room, but I'm going to be honest guys, I am not 100% convinced that happens, because when one of those spoilers, all those fake spoilers last year, I think that was one of them. So I'm willing to keep an open mind on that, but I don't think it'll happen. We'll see. We'll just have to wait and see. However, though, if Mari does go through some dark moments in the final chapter, then maybe she will commit suicide, and maybe she will set herself on fire. I don't know. She tried it last year when she was in the gym, and she tried to choke herself in the gym on the weights, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But I do think that Mari is definitely another character on death's list this year. So what about Linda Miles? Okay, so she has pretty much had a total personality transplant especially after the siege, because she started using a new tougher image on the women, and we learned that she was suffering from PTSD. And Reynolds, she has got her claws into Linda and is basically using Linda for her own personal gain. So what can we expect this year? Well, I would like to see Linda finally have some sort of counselling with Dr. Miller. Now, Jackie Brennan, who plays Linda Miles, is a fantastic actress, and it would be a perfect opportunity for her to shine in those scenes with Dr. Miller. So I really do hope that we do get some scenes of her having some therapy with Dr. Miller. But Linda, she's been in Wentworth from the start, so I can definitely see her finishing in the show this year in a massive storyline. I do think that Anne Reynolds is going to keep using Linda for her own gain, and then eventually basically just leave her in the shit. If Linda ends up getting the sack this year, then she could actually be the one to take down Anne Reynolds with her. Who knows? Linda is currently the deputy governor, but I can see Linda and Anne working together in the new season to remove Will from governor and to put Linda in that governor's chair. Imagine how mad would that be? But it kind of makes sense because Anne Reynolds wants someone in the governor's chair who she can control. So who perfect than Miss Miles? So I do think with big things that are probably going to be happening this year, it wouldn't make sense to have Mr. Jackson in the governor's chair for the full season. Because if anything huge does happen, like a riot or death and carnage, then realistically he would end up getting sacked early on in the new season if he's governor at the time. So it would make sense for the writers to remove Will as governor for a little bit and put Linda in the governor's chair, who will be able to take the fall for anything big that happens in the prison. Because I think the writers will have bigger plans for Will. So I do hope that Linda doesn't end up on death's list this year, but I do have a feeling she could end up being in the firing line. Okay, so quickly moving on to Mr. Jackson, just while we're on the subject of governor, I definitely think he will be removed as governor temporarily. I think the writers are saving the best until last for Mr. Jackson, and I can see a massive showdown with Will and Ferguson because there's loads of unfinished business. I think that Will could be involved in a few stunts this year and be smack bang in the centre of the bigger storylines. I mean, he's always threatening to quit, so I have a feeling this year that Will could tragically be killed off. I mean, if he is, then I think he would probably die protecting the women or Vera or both. I think that if he does get killed off this year, then his exit will be massive because he's one of Wentworth's originals, and I don't think there will be a dry eye in the house if it happens. He definitely deserves a big exit for being in the show from the start, and I mean, I would rather see him have an epic death scene rather than see him just being dragged off to a men's prison. Do you get me? So I think he definitely deserves a big, massive exit this year. Okay, so lightening the mood a little bit here, I want to move on to Boomer. So it's no secret in my previous video that I want a happy ending for Boomer. I think out of all the characters in that prison, Boomer is the only candidate who would probably get some sort of happy ending, as long as she keeps out of Lou Kelly's way. There is definitely no love lost between these two, and I really hope that Boomer doesn't become a target again, because what makes me nervous in these final 10 episodes is if Boomer does get her spoof and does end up pregnant, then that will make her so vulnerable to enemies like Lou Kelly. And I think Lou Kelly wouldn't think twice in hurting Boomer while she's pregnant. I mean, if you remember, guys, remember when Doreen was pregnant in season 3? She had so many falls, my heart just couldn't take it. And look at when Vera was pregnant. I mean, that was even worse. She was taken hostage by a mad woman threatening to cut the baby out, and then she ended up getting caught up in a gun siege. Pregnant characters in Wentworth always puts me on the edge of my seat. So if Boomer does end up getting pregnant, I really hope she does end up naming her baby Elizabeth after Liz. And I really hope we get a Frankie Doyle appearance to help Boomer with an appeal or something, just so that we can get Boomer out of prison a bit earlier. Whatever happens in these final 10 episodes, all I want is Boomer protected at all costs with a happy ending. Okay, so I'm now going to move on to Rita and Ruby for this one. So we've seen in the Wentworth preview that Rita is coming back into Wentworth as an inmate, which is fantastic news. I think maybe in the first episode this year we could possibly still see Rita on the run, and then maybe we'll see the police catch up with her, and then she'll be walking back through the prison gates by the end of the first episode. That's my prediction. Then, once Rita is back, she is there for the long haul. She will be reunited with Sister Ruby, but I have a feeling that Rita will end up clashing with Lou Kelly very early on in the new season. I also think that Rita will be shocked to see Mari out of protection, and, you know, because Will was supposed to be keeping a close eye on her and things, and keeping her in protection, so I think Rita might be in for a bit of a shock when she first comes back. I can't remember if this is correct or not, but I think Ruby isn't too far off being released from Wentworth. So it wouldn't really surprise me if something bad happens to Ruby, sending Rita into crazy mode. I mean, I can't make up my mind if Ferguson or Lou will be responsible for maybe Ruby getting hurt or killed off, but either way, it will create some epic fight scenes. With Rita, I am hoping that we get a massive showdown between her and Ferguson. I know there isn't any history between these two yet, but trust me, that will change. I think Rita is going to be involved in a lot of fight scenes this year, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. I do think, though, that there is a 50-50 chance that Rita could be killed off by the end of the show. I really don't want this to happen, but she might die trying to protect Ruby, or she might die when she takes on Ferguson, who knows. I would love to see Rita eventually become top dog in the final episode. The women need a strong leader, and at the moment Rita is the number one choice. But, of course, Rita used to be an undercover cop. And if this information gets leaked out to the women, or even just to Lou Kelly, I don't think Rita is going to be in the best position to become top dog, not unless she does something huge to protect the women from an evil person such as Joan Ferguson. I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. But I do think there is a 50-50 chance Rita could be on death's list this year, and probably a much higher chance for Ruby. Okay, let's move on to Anne Reynolds. So, we all know that Anne is a total bitch, and she never keeps her word or her mouth shut. This is going to prove extremely dangerous in the new season. I mean, I can see Anne double-crossing Lou Kelly over the funding of Reb's treatment, which will completely send Lou over the edge, and this could actually trigger Lou to start a full-scale riot. But more on that a little bit later. But anyway, I think Anne is going to continue being a nasty bitch this season. And don't forget, Anne told Lou that it was Ali who lagged on her. And this led on for Lou Kelly thinking that Ali had stolen the phone and the money. So I wonder what would happen if Anne learns the truth, that it was actually Judy Bryant, her arch enemy. It really wouldn't surprise me for Anne to maybe lock up Judy down the slot or something, to bring Lou Kelly to the cell in the middle of the night to beat the crap out of Judy. That's the sort of person that Anne Reynolds is, and this feud between Anne and Judy is definitely building up to something. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about Judy now while I'm talking about Anne, but it has been confirmed that Judy is going to be a force to be reckoned with in the new season, and I definitely think that Judy is going to have her own deadly plans in motion this year. I believe that Judy is going to try and escape from Wentworth before she is extradited to the US. Imagine if Judy took Anne hostage and forced her to open the gates, taking Anne hostage while on the run, and then while they're alone, Judy tells Anne that she was one of the terrorists that killed her daughter. Can you imagine the catfight between these two? I would literally love it, and I really want this to happen, and for once I would actually be on Anne Reynolds' side. Let's hope this happens. But taking it back a few steps now, so Judy stabbed Ali and left her for dead. So when Ali comes back, I wonder how Judy is going to react. Ali will no doubt tell the women that it was Lou Kelly who attacked her, because let's face it, that's what she believes at the moment. And I can see Judy using this to her advantage and starting an all-out war. I can't see Ruby and Boomer and the rest of the girls doing nothing to avenge their top dog stabbing. All hell will definitely break loose, and Judy Bryant is going to be the main instigator in all of it. She's going to be loving it. She's a terrorist. This is what she wants. She wants terror, she wants mayhem, and she wants chaos. But all I hope for Judy is a big, massive, painful death scene. That is the least that she deserves. And if Lou Kelly finds out that it was Judy behind all of this, then watch out, Judy, you might just lose a few fingers. And speaking of Ali, so I think Ali will return to Wentworth in a wheelchair this year. I mean, she took a really brutal stabbing in the back and the spine. If you go back and watch that scene, when you see the stab happening, you see Ali's legs underneath her give way as if she's been paralysed. So I definitely think Ali will be left in a wheelchair, and Ali will go, basically her character will go in a new direction this year, which I'm really kind of happy about, because she really wasn't top dog material, even though she gave it her best shot. Now, I am worried though that Ali might be killed off this year. I mean, remember what happened with B. Ferguson, back in season 4, Ferguson almost killed B Smith by trying to drown her in a sink, but B was saved just in time. And then I think it was about 4 or 5 episodes later, B was killed off for real at the hands of Ferguson. So even though Ali survives the stabbing and comes back this year, it doesn't mean that she won't get killed off. Think about it. If Ali believes that it was Lou who attacked her, and if Lou believes that it was Ali who stole the money, then anything can happen between these two. And maybe this time Lou will finish the job. And if she does, just imagine what would happen later on down the line when Lou finds out there was actually Judy all along. I think we've definitely got some shocking twists on the horizon, and I really do think that Ali could be the victim all over again of Judy Bryant. And if Ali does get killed off this year, I really hope, really hope that the ghost of B comes to get her so they can now be together forever. And for me, that would be a satisfying ending. Okay, so I've talked a lot about Lou Kelly in this video so far, so let's jump properly into Lou Kelly, and I am going to be talking a lot about Reb at the same time. So I think that we have got some big things to come from Lou and Reb. Now, I heard a rumour that apparently Reb Keane will try and do something dramatic to his own body after Anne decides not to fund the surgery. And of course, with Judy stealing their money, I can tell that Reb is going to reach breaking point. I mean, if the rumours are true, then Reb will try and perform his own surgery out of desperation. And I don't know, this could actually kill him, I'm not sure. But if this does happen, this will definitely 100% tip Lou over the edge. Everything that Lou has done, she has done for Reb, and basically trying to raise all this money for Reb's surgery. So if Reb was to basically be removed from the equation and harms himself, then Lou will literally go insane. She will blame Ali because she thinks Ali stole the money. She will blame Anne Reynolds because Anne Reynolds will double cross her. And Lou will use all of this to start a full-scale riot. So I reckon there is going to be a massive deadly riot, one like we've never seen before in Wentworth. We've all seen the recent photo of Lou covered in blood and being taken away by the police. Now, this wouldn't surprise me if this happens at the end, maybe of the riot storyline, and she gets taken away. I mean, it would explain why there's so many police on the scene. Now, I reckon we could have a good 2 or 3 episodes of a huge Lou Kelly riot. And imagine all the things that would go on inside that prison if the whole prison gets taken over. I'm telling you now, it would be edge of your seat epic television. Now, I do think Lou will be killed off. I'm not sure. But the thing is with Lou, she is bad, but you can also see in her face that she's been through a lot. She hasn't had it easy, and I think the reason why she is the way she is because she's had to be. I would rather like to see Lou Kelly have some sort of help by the end of the season, rather than being killed off. I mean, I think she is someone who could be saved, someone who could change their ways if the opportunity arose. I mean, she has history with the women in Wentworth, and some of the women do like Lou, while others do fear her. I'd like to see Lou change sides by the end of the season run, but however, I don't know how this could happen at this stage. However, if Reb does get killed off this year, it wouldn't surprise me if Lou kills herself to be with him. It would literally be like Ali and B all over again, and I don't think my nerves will be able to take it. Okay, so I've only got 3 characters left now to talk about, and all 3 of them will all somehow tie in together. But I'm going to start with Jake. So I felt that Jake was a little bit quiet in Season 8 Part 1. It started off with him bonding with baby Grace, which was really nice to see. And we nearly saw him cross over to the dark side when he tried to kill Ferguson while she was in that coma. We had a few scenes with him watching Ferguson through, through the glass, trying to work out if she's faking or not, and they did have a scene together. But he went pretty quiet during the last 2 or 3 episodes, so I definitely think we need to see more of Jake this year. Jake has proven in the past that he can go over to the dark side and that he can kill if he has to. However, Ferguson used to pull Jake's strings, and it wouldn't surprise me if this happens again. Joan may offer Jake a way out from her revenge plan. Maybe Ferguson will tell Jake that if he kills Will Jackson, then she will leave Vera and baby Grace alone. I mean, Jake would be crazy to trust Ferguson, but at the same time, I think Jake will do anything to keep Vera and Grace safe. I mean, Jake could go to prison for his past crimes, but the only issue with that is if Jake does go to prison, then more than likely Will and Vera will go to jail as well, and that would leave hardly any main characters left as the officers. I feel like Jake has been spending the last 2 seasons redeeming himself, so I would hate to see him turn back into Ferguson's puppet. But I don't think he'll be strong enough to take on Ferguson alone. Maybe Jake will have to get some help from some of the women, maybe Rita, who knows, we'll just have to wait and see. But quickly moving on to Vera now. So Vera has crossed a few lines herself. I mean, last year Vera broke all the rules and actually worked with Ali to drug Ferguson's drink with LSD. And then Vera took great pleasure in watching Ferguson stuck in a spit bag. Now the only problem here is that Vera really has let the genie out of the bottle, because this has caused Ferguson to get her memory back. And Vera is seriously going to end up regretting this. So Vera is about to receive a lot of pain coming from Ferguson. Ferguson has been gunning for Vera way back in Season 4. Remember that scene when Ferguson said that she will be coming for that shiny little crown? And then in Season 5, just before Ferguson was hanged by the women, she said that anyone who betrays her will pay. Now, I think everyone better hold on tight, because I'm going to start bringing Ferguson into this now while I'm talking about Vera predictions, because I think these two are going to have some epic scenes together this year. And let's not forget that Ferguson, she was going to kidnap baby Grace just before she was attacked and lost her memory. So, will Ferguson now pick up where she left off? So I do think that when the season returns this year, very early on, I think Ferguson will get out of prison. I think she'll have all her charges dropped with the help of Dr. Miller, and she will be released from prison under the new name of Kath Maxwell. And then Ferguson will just literally go for Vera, Jake and Will. And I kind of think that Ferguson will get out of prison maybe by the end of episode 1 or episode 2 as a shocking cliffhanger, and then she'll start her revenge. And I do think that Ferguson will kidnap baby Grace and make a run for it. And I really think and hope that they will eventually get caught, but they'll probably try to leave the country and they'll get caught or something, and then Ferguson will be revealed to have got her memory back, and she'll be brought straight back to Wentworth, maybe by about episode 4, possibly episode 5. Then for the second half of the season, this is when things will get a lot more interesting and twisted. Ferguson will be back, her mask will be uncovered, and she will be out for full revenge on the whole prison. And this is when I think all hell will break loose. This is when Ferguson will make an enemy of Rita Connors, and I think that these two are definitely going to have the mother of all showdowns. Remember, I spoke about a Luke Kelly riot earlier on. Well, if a huge riot does happen, then this would be the perfect opportunity for Ferguson to start her evil plans. It could also be the perfect opportunity for Judy Bryant to make her escape plans. I think all storylines will eventually collide together, creating some epic final episodes, showdowns, and secret reveals. We are definitely in for a huge roller coaster of a ride, and we are going to be on the edge of our seats. So guys, that was my predictions for every character that we currently have on Wentworth. I know we might be getting 1 or maybe 2 characters, new ones in the new season, but I'm not going to make any predictions about them because they haven't even appeared on screens yet. But just to emphasize guys, these are just my character prediction. This isn't what's going to happen, it's just my opinion of what could. And I may have guessed some right, but let's face it guys, this is Wentworth, and whatever storylines they have planned this year, they will be keeping tight-lipped over these final 10 episodes. But let me know your thoughts on my character predictions. Do you agree with anything that I have said? And let me know what your predictions are for these final 10 episodes, and let me know in the comments box below. And now guys, on the subject of comments, it is now time for some comment replies. So we have Jessica Kuyu-Mian. I think we are going to find out that Shane Butler is Mr. Jackson's son. Wow, Jessica, that is quite a bombshell you've just dropped. Can you imagine? I mean, you never know. I mean, he was a, what was Mr. Jackson back in the day? He was the social worker, wasn't he? Well, what, you never know, he could be the father. You never know. That would be quite a twist, wouldn't it? Interesting. Thank you for your comment, Jessica. That one's got me thinking. And we've got Edward Martin. I feel like Judy is going to kill Reb, since she was the one who stole the money and phone. Reb attacks Judy, but Reb is unfortunately the one who dies. That's why Luke Kelly becomes ballistic, because Judy killed Reb, and maybe she killed Judy. That's just a theory. I'm excited for this season. Well, yes, Edward. Honest to God, it's all gonna happen. Maybe Judy does kill Reb, I'm not sure. I think if Reb does die this year, it could possibly be one of the predictions I just predicted, was maybe he tries to do something dramatic to his body and he ends up dying as a result, or he will die in the crossfire of something, and that will definitely send Luke Kelly into frenzy. So yeah, but anyway, thank you for your comment. Nathan Perkins. I think Will should sacrifice himself to kill Ferguson, and his last word should be, I quit. I just had to lol at that comment. It did make me giggle when I read it. I definitely think there's going to be a showdown between these two. He probably will end up sacrificing himself, but then there's so many other characters that could, I mean, Vera could sacrifice herself as well, Jake could sacrifice himself, so we'll just have to wait and see, won't we? But thank you for your funny comment, Nathan. And we have The Empty. I think the amnesia storyline was good, but didn't need to drag out. Joan should have regained memory much earlier, and the rest of the season being about her faking it and starting her manipulations already. Yes, I have to agree with you. I think for me, it wasn't so much I didn't like the amnesia storyline, it just felt like they were dragging out the Ferguson revenge stuff, or, you know, they just wasted, well, they didn't waste a season essentially, but they dragged it out to the point where we now had to wait another year to find out what Ferguson has in store for Vera, Will, Jake, and anybody else. So yeah, it just kind of like, yeah, it didn't satisfy me as much as the Ferguson revenge stuff is going to do this year. But yeah, maybe they could have given her amnesia, maybe she could have got a memory back maybe in episode 6 or 7, getting us all pumped up ready for this year. But hey ho, we got what we got anyway, didn't we? So thank you for your comment, and thank you all once again for your amazing comments. As usual, you guys are just fantastic. Keep those comments coming. Okay guys, so if you've made it this far into the video, then thank you all for sticking around. Make sure you've hit that subscribe button, stay safe, and I will see you all again very soon.